Hello and welcome to Clearview Television News, reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. In the news, Nigerian Senate confirms all 43 ministerial nominees forwarded by President Muhammadu Buhari, insists on early submission of annual budgets. Various civil society groups demand credible and violence-free polls in Nigeria ahead of the November 16th governorship elections in Bayelsa and Kogi states. Romania's interior minister resigns following public outrage over police ineptitude as 2 teenagers are murdered. I am Rose Audu with the details of these and many more stories. The Nigerian Senate on Tuesday concluded the screening of ministerial nominees sent by President Muhammadu Buhari. The 43 persons nominated by the President were confirmed in a screening exercise that lasted 5 days. President Buhari is expected to assign portfolios to the ministers designate anytime from now. Meanwhile, indigents of the Federal Capital Territory have submitted a petition to the Senate registering their displeasure over their exclusion from the ministerial list. The Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Ovie Omoagege, on Monday said there is no need for Nigeria to continue with the multi-billion-naira oil subsidy regime. He said all that is needed to address the lingering issue of inadequate refined oil production to match local consumption is to fix the country's ailing refineries. He also expressed surprise that in spite of obvious economic realities, some people within and outside the NMPC still continue to believe that subsidy is the solution. Omoagege said this at the Senate plenary during the confirmation hearing of ministerial nominees. He also expressed dismay over the insistence of some multinational oil companies operating in the Niger Delta region on moving their headquarters elsewhere with attendant job losses. Civil society organizations in the Niger Delta have urged President Muhammadu Buhari to relinquish his position as Petroleum Minister and hand over the office to one of his screened nominees. The CSOs also employed the President to show courage and entrench the federal character principle by appointing a non-northerner as Minister of Federal Capital Territory, FCT, in line with the change mantra of his administration. Excellent Achievers Movement and Renaissance for Peace and Development Initiative, while briefing newsmen in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, through its spokesperson Solomon Disi, noted that the call is in the interest of equity and justice. Disi called on the President to appoint or nominate ministers for various ministries in the country based on equitable principles in terms of sharing formula. The Senate on Tuesday received the report of its ad hoc committee on Edo State House of Assembly crisis with a resolution asking Governor Godwin Obaseki to reissue fresh proclamation. The Senate also asked the clerk of the Edo State House of Assembly to formally inform all the 24 members of the State Assembly about the new date through both the print and electronic media in line with parliamentary best practice. The upper legislative chamber issued a 1-week ultimatum for the state governor to comply with its resolution or risk the National Assembly invoking Section 11, subsection 4, paragraph 5 of the 1999 Constitution, which empowers it to take over the functions and duties of the Edo State House of Assembly. Senate recommendation tallies completely with a similar decision reached earlier this month by the House of Representatives. Senate had mandated the ad hoc committee headed by Senate Deputy Whip Abdullahi Sabi to investigate the circumstances surrounding the crisis following a motion from Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele. The committee on Tuesday concluded its work after taking testimonies from all the parties, including the aggrieved members-elect of the Edo State Assembly and the national chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress. Adams Oshomole, who in his testimony said the action of the state governor Obaseki was not proper and undemocratic. The committee also took testimony from the Edo State Commissioner of Police, who confirmed that the police was notified about the proclamation in the morning of the said event, which took place around 9 p.m. on the same date. Prompted by these testimonies, the Sabi-led committee advised the Senate, asking the state governor Godwin Obaseki to reissue a proclamation he said was issued on Friday, 15th of June. The recommendation that the state governor be given 3 weeks to comply was reduced to 1 week. In his contribution, Senator Rochas Okorocha from Imo State cautioned the Senate against what he believes is an attempt to overreach itself with powers and jurisdiction not granted to it. Okorocha asked the Senate not to involve itself in a matter he said was the internal family affair of the APC, which he said was better resolved by leaders of the party. Wondering why the Senate seemed to be in a hurry to take over the Edo State House of Assembly, Senator Emmanuel Okejeff from Benue Northwest argued strongly in support of Okorocha, telling the Senate that the governor of Edo State was not under any obligation or law to use a particular medium to announce his proclamation. Senator Samuel Egu from Ebonyi State, however, differed, arguing that it was wrong to organize the inauguration at the odd hour of 9 p.m. Subsequently, Senate reached a resolution asking Obaseki to retrace his steps or risk the National Assembly taking over the Edo State House of Assembly. The national chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshomole, has denied any political undertone or personal vendetta in the crisis rocking the Edo State House of Assembly. Speaking with State House correspondent at the presidential villa, Oshomole said the recent advice for an executive proclamation on the state legislature was in line with legitimate procedures to ensure the system works accordingly. The state houses of assembly in Edo and Bauchi have been embroiled in crisis over what has been described as illegal inauguration without forming a quorum. Oshomole, however, believes the issue would be sorted out as soon as possible, denying speculations that the APC is in turmoil. The party leader also applauded the choice of nominees for ministerial appointments, saying it demonstrates a sense of inclusiveness. He believes the nominees have the requisite experience to help this administration move the country to the next level.
That what happened in Edo and in Bauchi is not about me. I don't come from Bauchi, but as a Nigerian who believes in democracy, you know that it is wrong for 9 persons in Bauchi to purport to inaugurate a house of 31 members. Go and read the relevant sections of the Constitution. It says clearly that a house shall not be less than 24 and not more than 40 houses of assembly. So how can 9 people or 11 people in Bauchi purport to inaugurate a house where you have 31 members and you exclude 21 members? It just doesn't add up. Now, it's not about me. It's not about you. It is about the system. And then we have people, uninformed analysts, commentators, including fake journalists. You are genuine journalists. I'm not flattering you because I know that you all can point to who you work for. These days of social media, everybody is a publisher, everybody is an analyst, everybody is a reporter. But I ask, can you form a quorum of something that does not exist? Common sense. All my life I have run association. I cannot say, for example, when I was in NSC, we have a quorum of the National Executive Council of NLC when that council has not been formed. Now, you can't have a quorum of a House of Assembly when that House of Assembly has not been properly inaugurated. And it is not about me, it's not about you, it's about system. Now, if I condemn Bauchi State, and I condemn Bauchi State in the strongest terms possible, I cannot condemn any less Edo State. And it just shows that when it comes to issues, you know, truth has no political affiliation.
Election stakeholders and civil society organizations in Nigeria have been tasked to collaborate with international community to help bring to account persons who subvert the electoral process as a result of their actions and activities. Convener, Nigeria Society Situation Room, Clement Onwonko, says these can be achieved by following the United States' example of visa bans against persons infringing on the electoral process. Onwonko stated these in Abuja at the official launch of the 2019 elections report of the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room. Our correspondent Ifeoluwa Ishola now brings us the details.
The Situation Room, made up of civil society organizations working in support of credible and transparent elections in Nigeria, in its final report on the 2019 general elections, made far-reaching recommendations to help improve the nation's electoral system. In the report, Situation Room pointed out that the 2019 general elections failed to meet the threshold for credibility. Convener Nigerian Society Situation Room Clement Nwanko says the Situation Room observed that the country's election failed to conform to minimum requirement for a free and fair election, explaining that out of the 8 measures used by the Situation Room, there was significant non-compliance with 5 of them.
Without fixing the shortcomings identified in the 2015 electoral law, INEC went into the 2019 elections already constrained from doing much to rectify them. Postponing voting about 6 hours to the start of polls, it not only exposed an ill-prepared INEC, it also dampened the nationwide enthusiasm that had built up for the elections. Situation Room observers noted military involvement in the elections outside of the limits allowed by law. State institutions. There are questions about the role played by the executive arm of government.
To better improve the nation's electoral process, Nwanko says the amended Electoral Act, which was refused assent by the President, be reintroduced and passed by the National Assembly and transmitted to the President for assent.
There's an urgent need for stakeholders to put in place processes to tackle the lapses that have been identified. INEC should work together with civil society organizations to immediately commence the push for reforms in the electoral process, working closely with all critical stakeholders to achieve lasting reforms to the electoral process. The executive arm of government should commit to passing reforms proposed in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill and also champion a credible implementation of the recommendations in the 2008 Ways Panel report. The budget for the 2019 elections was 242.4 billion naira. This cost is not sustainable. It is important to open up national conversation on how to achieve sustainable costs for the conduct of elections in Nigeria.
Also speaking, Senior Responsible Officer Defeat Sonia Wana commended the Situation Room for its performance and always keeping the citizens informed, saying this has helped to build trust and confidence.
The Situation Room is an excellent example of a nationally driven observation arrangement which is sustainable. DFID is funding the Situation Room because we value the role of national civil society in governance processes, as watchdogs, and in building active citizenship. Without a doubt, CSOs need to collaborate more and ramp up their efforts in supporting citizens to stay engaged in such processes and in holding those who they have elected to account.
The Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room was set up in 2010 ahead of the 2011 general elections in response to the need to enhance civil society coordination and ensure constructive and proactive engagement of the election process. Ifeoluwa Ishola, reporting for Clearview Television.
A one-day roundtable meeting aimed at ensuring a free, fair and violence-free poll during the Kogi and Bayelsa State governorship elections scheduled for November 16 has ended in Abuja. As Clearview TV's Joy Isekwe now tells us, the event was put together by the Center for Transparency Advocacy.
The Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy, Faith Nwandushi, urged Nigerian women in various political parties to make judicious use of the opportunity by collecting nomination forms to participate in line with their desire to increase women participation in politics. She further advised citizens of Kogi and Bayelsa states to shun election malpractice and violence in order to have free and fair elections.
First and foremost, for us, we would like to see a political class that is better organized and respecting their own internal democracies. Especially now they are inching towards having their party primaries. We want to see a rank-up-free party primaries, not party primaries that will throw up issues at the end of the day, and then you get flag bearers that really are not flag bearers of the party. So citizens themselves should help to ensure that we have a free, fair and credible process, a violence-free process that everybody will be very proud of. But most importantly, to note that INEC as an organization itself cannot deliver on the election if all the stakeholders don't play the role that they're expected to play.
A representative of the Chief of Army Staffs, General John Ochai, says Nigerian Army will provide utmost support in terms of security by working hand in hand with INEC, the police and other security agencies where need be.
The Nigerian Army is ready to support INEC to ensure the movement of election materials as well as personnel into the creeks where conventional means of vehicular transportation cannot reach. We are also ready to support the Nigerian police, which is the lead agency for election security, in ensuring that there is peace and any security challenge is nipped in the bud.
The Center for Transparency Advocacy called on INEC and security agencies to provide an enabling environment for credible elections, while politicians and political parties should at all times be prepared to play by their rules. The Bayelsa and Kogi state governorship elections are fixed for November 16th this year. Joy Esekweyi reporting for Clearview Television.
The ongoing Plateau State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Jos has continued, with the prosecution of defense of Governor Simon Lalong by calling of witnesses. 3 out of the 4 APC witnesses who testified told the tribunal that Jeremiah Hussaini of the PDP won the election in their polling unit with a wide margin.
Governor Lalong has tendered 43 documents through his counsel, Lateef Fagbemi son, and also called on 3 witnesses to prove his claims of overvoting in their respective polling units. But instead, they testified in favor of the PDP candidate, saying that the candidates won the election in their polling units with wide margin without any issue. Recall that the petitioners, Jeremiah Hussaini and the PDP in the petitions, have both pleaded overvoting as a ground on which they challenged the governorship election conducted by INEC that brought Governor Lalong and the APC to power in the state. However, during cross-examination by Hussaini's counsel, Benson Igbonohi, on the alleged certificate forgery of the governor, his star witness, who was an attorney general in the state, said that Lalong contested the election with the name Simon Bako Lalong, not Simon Sule Lalong as contested. The returning officer, who identified forms EC8D, EC8E and CF001, had insisted that the election was peaceful, free, fair and credible. From the record of the tribunal, the second respondent, being Governor Lalong, has so far tendered 97 documents as exhibits before the tribunal. Nneka Philip, reporting for Clearview Television.
The Supreme Court on Tuesday adjourned hearing until August 20 in an application filed by the PDP and its candidate Atiku Abubakar, challenging the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal's rejection of their request to access the INEC central server. The PDP and Atiku alleged that the server housed the results of the poll electronically transmitted by the Independent National Electoral Commission during the exercise. The tribunal had, in a ruling on June 24, dismissed claims by the PDP and Atiku that INEC electronically transmitted results of the February 23 poll to the said central server. INEC denied the claim, insisting that it never transmitted the results of the polls to any server whatsoever, but that the results were collated and declared manually. President Muhammadu Buhari and his All Progressives Congress, whose victory at the polls is being challenged by the petitioners at the tribunal, also opposed the petitioners' request for access to the said INEC server. Is it a blessing or a curse to expose Nigerians to the use of social media, particularly the WhatsApp platform? To chart a way forward on how the platform can be used to improve Nigeria's electoral process, a former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Atahiru Jega, along with experts and other stakeholders, met in Abuja this Monday. Clearview TV's Busola Oworu was at the brainstorming session, which dwelled more on fake news and its spread on social media, particularly the WhatsApp platform.
Not a few unsuspecting Nigerians are being exposed daily to fake news, and the trend has gradually crept into the Nigerian media, using various social media platforms. The most popular is the WhatsApp, a messaging app in Nigeria, which is considered easy to use with low data costs and has an end-to-end encryption. However, the popularity of fake news on this platform is highly rated, with emphasis on its usage by political candidates. Gathered in Abuja to discuss the use and abuse of WhatsApp in an African election, the role of WhatsApp in Nigeria elections, were some stakeholders joined by Professor Atahiru Jega, a professor of political science at Bayero University, Kano, and former chairman of INEC. They said that voters are influenced by political messages, with major emphasis on Kano and Oyo gubernatorial election this year.
This research basically tried, as I said, on an exploratory basis to help us understand how Nigerians are using WhatsApp as a platform for either electioneering campaigns or for general political activities, and I think it is good that we begin to pay greater attention to that, and so I believe they are pace setters. They have started something good, and many researchers now can go into that.
Citizens and party candidates explored WhatsApp in the dissemination of campaign messages, different types of content such as voice messages, text, among others, have impact in different ways.
Well, definitely I would like to see a situation in which increasingly credible news is used on the platform rather than fake news. And obviously political parties and candidates can use these platforms to inform voters and to inform the public about their policies, about their programs, about what they can do, rather than use it in a manner in which they are abusing opponents, or casting aspersions and using fake postings.
The most important thing that the government will really have to do in terms of countering fake news and disinformation is always being open and making information available to all parties, including the press. Most times what happens is when there are this kind of news that are going all over platforms, you reach out to the government and you say, is this true or not? Their spokesperson. The processes, the time within which they respond, that is if they respond, allows information, fake news, to actually spread wider. And you know that this is just like a wildfire that you're actually dealing with. You're dealing with an information that one person has created, and within few hours, it's all over the country.
A lot of the things that we've been talking about in relation to the recommendations, some of them are short-term things that WhatsApp could potentially do around the functionality of the app, people joining groups without their consent, people leaving and not everyone else in the group being informed that they've left. But more generally, the recommendations speak to things that need to be done in Nigeria itself. And in particular building up people's digital literacy competency and their confidence to be able to discern whether a message that they receive, regardless of the source, is genuine or speaks to a genuine event, or is disinformation, or is fake news. And that can only really come from a comprehensive digital literacy campaign.
Among the many recommendations are that WhatsApp should invest in fact-checking, targeted digital literacy, training for influencers, open an office in Africa, make it easier to leave WhatsApp groups, political campaigns to develop social media codes of conduct for future elections, and many others. Busola Oworu, reporting for Clearview Television.
You're watching Clearview Television News. The news will continue shortly after this timeout. Welcome back. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has commenced the probe of his predecessor Abiola Ajimobi as he inaugurated a 10-man committee to investigate contracts awarded by the immediate past administration. The 10-man committee, headed by the chairman, Nigerian Society of Engineers, Oyo State Chapter, Damola Falade Fatila, is to review contracts and projects awarded by the Ajimola's government between 2017 and 2019. Inaugurating the committee at the executive chamber of the governor's office, Agodi Secretariat, Governor Makinde urged it to carefully examine the status of some of the ongoing contracts to ascertain if they were justifiably tied to the socio-economic development of the state. The committee has 4 weeks to submit its reports. At the inauguration ceremony were top government functionaries, including the Chief of Staff, Chief BC Laka, the Head of Services, Amidat Agwola, among others. The Benin Zonal Command of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons says it has arrested a pastor and 2 others for allegedly raping and impregnating a 12-year-old orphan. NAPTIV Zonal Commander Nduka Nwanene, who disclosed this in Benin on Monday, said the pastor is of a popular church in Uromi, Asia Northeast Council area. Nwanene said the pastor 30, a herbalist 59 and another man 30 were arrested by operatives of the Zonal Command for alleged repeated sexual abuse of the 12-year-old orphan. He alleged that the 3 suspects at different times engaged in continuous sexual molestation, rape and defilement of the girl, who is now 5 months pregnant. The Zonal Commander said that the pregnant girl had been taken into the NAPTIV's custody, adding that the act started when the girl was 8 years old. Nwawene disclosed that the pastor had invited her to his house to help wash dishes with the approval of the victim's mother, who was alive at the time and a member of the church. He noted that the pastor took advantage of his wife's absence to rape the victim. He further explained that the victim was later taken away to stay with the second suspect, a native doctor, who was a guardian to her. The Zonal Commander alleged that the guardian repeatedly raped the victim in his bedroom and added that the herbalist blamed his act on frustration and drunkenness. The 3rd suspect, a farmer who usually performed odd jobs in the restaurant owned by the victim's uncle, molested and raped her. He said one similarity among the 3 suspects is that they all admitted to the crime. However, the victim claimed that it was the last suspect that impregnated her. All the suspects are in NAPTIV's custody while investigation is ongoing. As the global community celebrates the Day Against Human Trafficking, Nigeria's National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons has called on the citizens to boost the fight against human trafficking in the country and beyond. Our correspondent, Busola Oworu, reports that the agency used the celebration of the day to release its 2019 report.
Human trafficking subjects many, especially women and children, to forced labor, sexual exploitation, among many others. These complex crimes remain topics of concern to many in Nigeria. Thousands of people, both young and old, are being taken for trafficking. This made it pertinent for for the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, to join the global world in the fight against human trafficking. Theme for this year's celebration is Human Trafficking. Call your government to action. The agency reminds all stakeholders that human trafficking is a horrible menace which also poses a threat to national security, as underage children, women, and even men are not spared from the trade. Estimates released by the Global Slavery Index in July 2018 are that there are 40.3 billion victims of modern slavery worldwide. 71% consist of women and girls, while 25% are children. Nigeria remains a source of transit and destination country when it comes to human trafficking. Since inception in 2003, NAPTIP has secured 403 convictions with over 14,000 victims rescued, rehabilitated, and reintegrated back into their various communities. Julie Oka-Dowley, Director General, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, says the first block against this menace should be mounted by the family.
I believe that when we work closely with the Nigerian Immigration Services, it will really go a long way to complement their efforts at the borders. Now you see, when we say call your government to action, the first thing a lot of people think about is the federal government. But we are trying to tell everyone that it's not just about the federal government. We have the state government, we have the local government. The federal government has already taken a huge step by establishing a national agency for the prohibition of trafficking in persons, one of the only such in the whole of the world that has a sole mandate of fighting human trafficking. So the state government, I also expected to join us, and the local government as well, I expected to join the federal government in this fight, and that is what some of them are doing. But we hope that all of them would join us, because human trafficking is a crime that is clandestine in nature. It takes place like kind of behind closed doors, and so most of the time we rely on information. But a lot of people don't understand the importance of speaking out when they see something. So we are trying to change the narratives. We are trying to change that culture of silence, and we are calling on Nigerians to say something when they see something.
Other stakeholders say there is the need for collective collaboration and commitment towards the eradication of human trafficking.
There's this saying that when it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. Do you understand? So when somebody comes and says that they're going to take your child, or they're taking them to Europe, they will get a good job, they will get a good job, they will be sending money home. How are they going to do it? And what is it that has made you so special that they have, and that they have pinpointed you out? They know exactly what it is their children are going to do outside of this country. They know. They've seen it. Oh, sister so, auntie so. She built her house, or a house for her parents, doing what she's doing, doing whatever it is she did in Italy. Do you have two heads? Why are you so different? Don't you want to make things better for our family? Now, the thing is that auntie whatever, who built that house, uncle whatever, who built that house, from repatriating funds from sexual trafficking, is one of the minuscule few who managed to get through. Minuscule. More people die from trying to achieve this.
Call it modern day sheer moral depravity and greed are causes, of trafficking. We must go back to our religious beliefs. The more you take out conscience from people, religious beliefs, the more you make them beastly. We mustn't go back to the Hobbesian state of nature, where nature is brutish, nasty, and short. These things create avenues for human trafficking.
High point is the release of the agency's report for 2019. As a matter of national exigencies, considering dangers associated with human trafficking, it is apparent that the act needs global solution. and the agency calls on all to join hands in the fight against human trafficking and to ensure the traffickers are fully apprehended. Busola Owuru, reporting for Clearview Television.
As part of its mandate to promote opportunity for less privileged persons in the society, the National Orientation Agency, NOA, is collaborating with the Qatar Charity Foundation to create an enabling environment for the needy. At an event at Dakwa in Niger State, which featured the commissioning of social facilities meant for the well-being of the less privileged, Governor Abubakar Sani Bello describes as commendable the initiative, which is about supplying education, economic development and provisions of basic amenities to poor communities. Again, our correspondent Uju Onyemechalu brings us the details. A legal icon and university administrator, Afe Babalola, has called for the arrest and prosecution of those operating unaccredited universities in the country, saying their activities are inimical to academic growth and quality education. He suggested that degrees in sciences and humanities, among other academic areas, should be minimum qualification to study medicine and law as obtainable in Britain and other advanced countries. The legal luminary told the National Universities Commission that the best way to discourage illegal universities in Nigeria is by meting out stringent sanctions on operators, describing this as a veritable way to halt certificate racketeering in the country. Babalola made this known in Abuad while playing host to NUC team, who came there as assessment hall and evaluation of the level of compliance to good governance in the institution. Commenting on the lopsided admission policy in Nigeria, he said even in admission, 200 should be minimum mark in JAMB to secure admissions to the universities. But the mark had been deducted, and once JAMB allowed these to happen, then it has lowered the standard already. The minimum should not be so ridiculous. He, however, suggested a universal cut of mark, which should not be less than 40% of the total mark. The school administrator urged the commission to rework the curricula being used in the universities, saying the present ones in operation lack modernity and not in touch with the reality of the 21st century economic growth. The eminent lawyer charged NUC to begin a process of ranking universities by itself to prevent fictitious organizations from hijacking the process and rates based on sentiment, thereby damaging the reputations of credible institutions. And not less than 20 vehicles and scores of shops were gutted in fire outbreak in Owode Oniren Market on Monday night. According to reports, some of the vehicles affected were several Hummer buses, cars, business centers, and properties worth millions. The outbreak started around 9:30 p.m. According to witnesses, flaming off the rooftop of a food seller popularly known as Iya Yusuf. It was gathered that the fire could have erupted as a result of careless abandonment of burning coal by the food vendor. As part of measures to ensure safety of lives and property of all Nigerians, the federal government has purchased 12 firefighting trucks for the Federal Fire Service in Abuja. Busola Owuru was at the event and reports that stakeholders prevent recommended strategic deployment of the vehicles to appropriate zones to serve their purpose. A Makurdi Magistrates Court has ordered 10 men who allegedly attacked a police station in Ado local government area of Benue State to be remanded in prison pending legal advice. The magistrate, Rose Ioche, did not take the plea of the suspects but remanded them in the Makurdi medium prisons. The pleas preferred against the suspect 4 counts of criminal conspiracy, trespass, attempts to commit culpable homicide, mischief, and an act of terrorism. Ioche, who did not take their pleas for want of jurisdiction, ordered the police to duplicate the case file and send it back to the Benue Director of Public Prosecutions for legal advice. She adjourned the case until August 26 for further mention. Earlier, the prosecution counsel, Inspector Veronica Shagi, had told the court that the case was transferred from the Divisional Police Headquarters, Ado Local Government, to State Criminal Investigation Department, Makudi, through letter number 3100/Benue State/Ado/Volume.T, dated July 24, 2019. Shage said that on July 20, some group of youths numbering over 200 led 20 masquerades at Katakba from Igumale town to the Divisional Police Station, either armed with weapons, and attacked the station. The group, she alleged, armed themselves with cutlasses, sticks, stones, and other dangerous weapons, attacked policemen at the station, and inflicted grievous injuries on Sergeant Gabriel Adole, PC Joseph Jato, and PC Patrick Lowell. She alleged that the hoodlums also damaged one Toyota Hilux van with registration number DW 348 EKY, valued at 3 million naira. She prayed the court for more time to enable the police to complete investigations in the matter. She said the offense contravened the provisions of Sections 97, Section 349, Section 231, and Section 329 of Penal Code Laws of Benue State 2004, and Sections 100 of Adoption, Kidnapping, Hostage Taking, Secret Court, and Similar Activities, Law of Benue State 2017. You're still watching Clearview Television News. The news will continue shortly after this timeout.
I'm very delighted. I'm happy to be at Clearview. Like the name implies, everything is quite clear here. I enjoy all Nigerians to continue to enjoy the very clear opportunity of broadcasting. And I said, Clearview, well done. Please keep it up. Clearview is it. Don't change that channel. Enjoy it.
Uni ahoime banguni enwome ati sojete banguni iresu amuhi baki epezwe ati ameme worokame da shekura novede ibiraba beva says onini isamuhi oneri odobide kura ame oneri saza esi kameni avabani voniva sevore diaka iresu ibiraba be TV oniva save of down in dozile sokoko etoro noni ibiraba be yafabe inyo ishehun dia novede.
Látòrí ìdárayá ní orí ọ̀dọ̀, látòrí ọ̀dọ̀ olóṣèlú títí dé orí ọmọ lọ́balọ́ba àti ìjòyè àwọn yìí. Ẹ̀kọ́ àti àṣà àti ìṣera. Ètò ẹ̀jáyé ìgbọ́ra ó ti rá láti jẹ́ àmọ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ní ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀. Ní agbègbè ra àti àyíká rà lílẹ̀ ọkùn. Ẹ agbọ́ra, ẹ awora níbi ẹ̀tíyàwó ra ẹ̀. Ètò ẹ̀jáyé ìgbọ́ra àti muarin gbogbo ní bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ awora lórí rẹ̀. Ẹja sọmọ kọ́ ọmọ sọ.
Wow! Ekide ṣe wa gẹ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀dẹ̀ jẹ́ kó máa gbómú wẹ. Ekide ṣe odúkanike dúkọ́ lọ́yọ́gbá. Ká àwọn dúgbẹ́dẹ̀ mú àwọn ọmọ àgbàdùfò ọ̀nẹ́kẹ̀lẹ́ kó lóbulẹ̀. Mánike kọ́má alùpùpù gba báyìí alùpùpù kọ ìchíwa ìgalà. Omikùnà kà iṣọ́ mamẹ kúkó jẹnẹ ìgalà dẹ̀. Ẹ̀dọ̀mí ṣẹ̀bọ́ kú gbójúlé òṣọ́ mamẹ ìgalà. Lẹ́kínà gòwá ojí tẹlifíṣàn kìdẹ́ lọ́gbà. Ẹ̀kídẹ́rẹ́ máa bínú.
Welcome back. Now, as we told you earlier, as part of its mandate to promote opportunity for less privileged persons in the society, the National Orientation Agency, NOA, is collaborating with the Qatar Charity Foundation to create an enabling environment for the needy at an event at Dakwa in Niger State, which featured the commissioning of social facilities meant for the well-being of the less privileged. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello describes as commendable the initiative, which is about supplying education, economic development, and provisions of basic amenities to poor communities. Our correspondent Uju Onyemechalu brings us the details.
The building, donated by Qatar Charity, comprises of a mosque, a school, an orphanage home, a clinic, a shopping mall, playground and staff quarters. At the unveiling ceremony, Governor Abubakar Sani Bello expressed delight at the magnitude of contributions and impacts the projects will have on the less privileged in the society.
I'm also pleased with the structure. The facility you're seeing here was being built by the Qatar Charity, and it handed over today to the foundation. This hopefully would ensure maintenance and sustainability of this facility. So overall, I am quite pleased with what I have seen here today, and I hope we will see more of this in future. So this is a very good example of public-private partnership. As you can see, this facility here addresses one, education, it addresses two, health, it addresses, it promotes commercial activity with the shopping complex. So there's a lot of social benefits and economic benefits attached to it. So it's a brilliant example of a public-private partnership.
While commending the Qatar Charity Organization for the initiative, the Director General National Orientation Agency, Dr. Garba Abari, charged beneficiaries to make proper use of the facilities as a way of gratitude.
First and foremost is to commend the Qatari state for such a very wonderful intervention in the area of social support. You can see this program is specifically for orphans. It has a school, it has an inbuilt hospital, it has a playground, it has a place of worship. So on a larger scale, the community of Dakwa will benefit from the school system, because it's an environment that will guarantee very good education environment, very conducive for learning. And of course, for a charity organization to go this far and bring such a very massive intervention calls for support, calls for commendation and encouragement. And we as a citizens engagement agency will call on the community to make best use of this edifice and ensure that it is very well managed, protected, and that the community at large actually benefits from all the blessings that come with this kind of intervention.
In attendance to add color to the commissioning ceremony were traditional rulers, including emirs, district heads and chiefs, as well as members of the Islamic community, among other dignitaries. Uju Onyemechalu reporting for Clearview Television.
And now on entertainment, a former Big Brother Naija housemate Tokumbo Idowu, popularly known as T-Buzz, has reportedly been delivered of a bouncing baby in the early hours of today, Tuesday, 30th of July. And also an award-winning superstar, David Adeleke, aka Davido, has emerged the richest Nigerian on Instagram, with his single post valued at over 26 million naira. Let's now join our entertainment correspondent for details of these and many more stories.
The 2017 Big Brother Naija housemate T-Buzz has been off the radar for some months now, as reports comes that she was pregnant. T-Buzz, who has earlier denied being pregnant when news broke that she was allegedly carrying the media personality Uti Nwachukwu's baby. Not much was heard of her until recently, when a lady spotted her at a diagnostic center in Abuja, which confirmed she was actually pregnant. T-Buzz herself made the denial in the live section with fans on Instagram in June, warning rumor mongers to mind their businesses. Let me just swear to you guys today, me and Yubi have nothing intimate when I say we haven't even have as much as a kiss. Never. No. I don't think Yubi has ever fancied me like that, she said. But reports reaching us is that she has given birth to a bouncing baby whose gender is yet unknown, And as one begins to wonder who the father of the child is. To confirm the reports, she took to her Instagram stories to post with a caption, "Oops, busted." And according to the Instagram Rich List 2019 by Hopper 2019, Davido stands at the second position in Africa and occupies 38th positions on global rating. Mohamed Salah, Egyptian and Liverpool football star, is the richest African celebrity on Instagram and occupies spot 26 at the global level. Davido is one of the active Nigerian celebrities on Instagram, and he makes use of his social media platform to share information about his life and career. The Assurance cloner, called OBO by fans, has 11.8 million followers on Instagram as of Thursday, July 25, with each of his posts valued $74,000, approximately 26 million naira. Other Nigerian celebrities who made the Instagram Rich List are Wizkid, Funke Akindele, and the African Rihanna Tiwa Savage. Wizkid gets $49,700, which is close to 18 million naira, standing at the 46th position on the global rating with over 7 million followers. Actress Funke Akindele Bello is the 45th celebrity globally with over 8 million followers and gets $50,500, which is over 19 million naira. Tiwa Savage is the 48th on the list with over 7.5 million followers, earning $47,200, approximately 17 million naira. This feature has added another accolade to Davido's richly endowed cap, especially in recent time. Having won the Best International Arts Trophy at the 2018 Black Entertainment Television Awards, his song Fall became the first Nigerian music video to hit 100 million views on YouTube. Cecilia Okoli reporting for Clearview Television.
You're watching Clearview Television News. The news will continue shortly after this break.
Here. Driver, a passenger wants to drop. No, I'm not dropping here. I'm not dropping here. And another here. Okay, are you dropping here? Oh, no, not at all. And another one here. And here. Driver, please stop at the junction. No, not at all. Okay, what do you mean by here? Oh, it's the ATM feature on my UBA mobile banking app. I can locate all UBA ATMs right here on my phone. Let me see. It's here. Who wants to come down? Nobody.
Find your favorite feature on the UBA mobile banking app. Download on Google Play or the iOS Store to discover the mobile banking app that's changing the way we bank.
Welcome back. And on the foreign news, Romania's Interior Minister Nicolae Moga says he is resigning in the wake of the murders of 2 teenagers, crimes which have outraged the country, partly due to alleged police inaptitude. Moga said on Tuesday that he is stepping down after a conversation with Prime Minister Viorica Dăncilă. His resignation comes just 6 days after being sworn into office. Moga said his resignation should be seen as a new beginning for the Interior Ministry. Only on Friday, Romania's National Police Chief was fired amid criticism that it took police 19 hours last week to locate a 15-year-old girl who called the country's emergency hotline 3 times, saying she had been beaten and raped by an abductor. And still on the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, anti-trafficking organizations say survivors should be given at least 12 months of specialist support to prevent them from falling back into a cycle of exploitation, as well as 30 months leave to remain if they are not UK or EU nationals. A report by the British Red Cross London-based charity Hestia and Sheffield-based Asiana said most survivors are at risk with uncertain immigration status, The report notes that being formally identified as victims of trafficking or modern slavery does not automatically grant them the right to remain in the UK. The call comes a month after the Home Office of the UK Government Department responsible for immigration and security was forced to recognize that its policy of giving only 45 days of support to survivors once they are identified as victims was leaving them vulnerable to homelessness and re-trafficking. Survivors had been able to access specialist care, including safe housing, financial support and counseling, while going through the national referral mechanism, which can sometimes take years. However, this ends a month after they received a final decision last month. A judicial review of the policy, which the Home Office introduced in October 2018, granted 2 claimants interim relief, effectively suspending it, while the Home Office said it won't be reintroduced. Further details have yet to be announced. The United States has delivered 10 Barrett M107.5 Carl sniper rifles ordered by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The U.S. Embassy in Manila, in a statement, says the rifles, which arrived at Camp Aguinaldo in Quezon City in mid-July, are part of a series of equipment transfers designed to strengthen Philippines' ability to meet mission requirements. The embassy added that the United States will also train the armed forces on how to operate, maintain and employ the equipment. And that's all for the news, but before we go, a recap of our top stories. The Nigerian Senate on Tuesday confirmed all the 43 ministerial nominees forwarded by President Muhammadu Buhari, with a charge to the new federal cabinet to ensure submission of annual appropriation bills to the National Assembly before the first week of October of every year. Ahead of the November 16 governorship elections in Bayelsa and Kogi states, various civil society groups are demanding the conduct of credible and violence-free polls in Nigeria. And Romania's Interior Minister Nicolae Moga has resigned just 6 days after being sworn in following a public outrage over police inaptitude as 2 teenagers are murdered. And that's the news. Remember that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel via Clearview TV. Like us on Facebook via Clearview Television. Follow us on Twitter at Clearview Online. Follow us on Instagram at Clearview TV_NG. You can also watch Clearview TV on Nigecomsat with any free-to-air decoder. For details, contact your local installer. I am Rose Audu. Many thanks for joining us.